Hey there! It's been quite some time since I've actually had time to spend in the studio. I've been mostly doing family related stuff, and I always find it a little bit challenging to get back into creating. I want to show you in this video what I'm up to and what I'm really into, and sorry about my hair. Yeah, I'm also going to show you some of my favorite acrylic colors right now. I'm really into acrylics. I'm more into that kind of layered painterly look, not with like a ton of texture that comes from like modeling paste or molding paste, but really just like layers and layers of paint. And coming from watercolor, which is probably has been my main medium in the past years, it's like a very flat medium, and I love it. I love watercolors, but my process there just doesn't really translate to acrylics, and I've been really drawn to playing with acrylics and layers. And I'm also kind of trying to learn more about oils and using them with some mediums, just trying to understand that material and how I can make it fit my process in the best way. Tell me if you enjoy this kind of format. I'm experimenting with all kinds of different things. I feel like I want to give you a bit more than, you know, here are my favorite things at the moment, ABC, and kind of give you more of a window into my process and the methods that I use. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Rit. I'm a mixed media artist based in Austria and Europe. And on my channel, I share my artsy adventures. So stick around for a lot of fun color play. One of the ways I ease back into the studio after a break is by reconnecting and refamiliarizing myself with color. I don't plan too much. I just start swatching what's calling to me. It's a way to listen to where I'm at creatively. So before I dive into painting, I wanted to show you some of the colors I've been working with lately and how they're helping me rediscover my rhythm. I want to show you some of my favorite colors right now, and actually the way that I'm swatching here is very similar to how I've been starting my acrylic paintings, which I'll show you a little bit of that process later in the video. So I'm starting with swatching the warm colors, and I am, at this point, I would say I'm still into fluorescence. So I have a fluorescent pink, and which there are several brands that make fluorescent pink that I like. I don't like it when it's like too light and bright. I like it when it's slightly deeper. Still, of course, very neon, but not like super bright. Like if you're familiar with the Daniel Smith opera, it's a very famous color. I don't like that kind of fluorescent. So I use fluorescent pink, and then the red one, I've tried many, but my favorite is the luminous red from Holbein. That's like my favorite. It's so intense and beautiful. But there are a lot of brands that make like a neon red. I'm also using a lot this very orangey, I guess some people would just call it orange, yellow from Flash Paint, which is called Sahara Yellow. And there's also this red, this is a vermilion, this is also from Flash, that I'm a little bit torn. It's always next to the neons. It looks so sad. But sometimes when I mix it with white and some yellow, I like it. So that's the one I just moved right now. So I'm not sure. And then yellow ochre is really kind of my go-to earth tone at the moment. I love how it looks with white. You can see that in the swatches below there. It's swatched on this page. And I've actually been really enjoying using it as like a block out color in some negative painting that I've been doing. The yellow ochre was a really great color for that, which surprised me, I have to say. And I use a lot of white, and I also, you can see like above the white, there is a warmer white, which I mix using white and a touch of yellow or gold ochre. And I use both of them So it really depends. If I want to lighten warmer colors, I will usually use the cream color, and then if I want to lighten cold colors, then mostly I would use the white, like the pure white. But that's always the problem. And I don't struggle with this so much in the warm colors as much as I struggle with it with the like turquoises, that if I want lighter shades, most of the time it works better if you use a yellow as far as you can take that and then add white, because I really found that the colors that I get when I add white to turquoises, or especially if I'm trying to make like really nice greens, it just turns it into a cold, chalky color that doesn't always work for me. Here's a little close-up on the colors. You can kind of see the vibe. It actually feels really limited to me when I see it like this. I am not one for monochromatic color schemes. Absolutely not. And here we are with the cool colors. And of course, I'm starting with my beloved Luminous Rose. This one is by Holbein. It is like a very, very bluish pink, and I love mixing it with white, and I love mixing it with yellow, and I mix it with ultramarine to get all kinds of pretty violets. It's a really go-to color in my color palettes. Then I have ultramarine blue, and here you can see my little paint pots. This paint system is very much inspired by Sandy Hester. She came up with the system, and I use it now and I love it. I mix my paint with a mixture that is 1 part water and 1 part matte medium to get the paint to flow. It's like a fine balance. You have to try and see how the mixture works for you. But I like my paint to be creamy, but not too heavy, but not too watery. So somewhere there. And then the other colors that I have here on the cooler side of the palette, the green is, I think it's like a yellow green from Sennelier. I'm not totally into my greens. That's why, like my current green situation, that's why I added now like a yellow green from Holbein, which I love, to test it out. And I have to play around with that a little bit. I feel like I'm struggling with acrylics to get really great greens that I like. I have Viridian Hue, which is at the top right corner. It's kind of blocked out. The dark colors, you can't really see the differences, but you can see the swatches. And then at the top, I have Prussian Blue from Lucas, Indigo from Lucas. That's what I'm doing right now. That's the color that I'm mixing with a bit of white. That's indigo. I love that shade of indigo from Lucas. And I also have black from Flash Paint, which I don't use a ton. And that minty green Perfection is Veronese green, also from Flash. And then I have a little bit of lemon yellow. I find that I really need it to mix greens because my yellow is so orangey. But I don't know, as I said, I'm still kind of struggling with greens. So we'll see how that works. Here are some close-ups on all of those cool colors. I definitely feel I need some more earthy greens. Let me know in the comments your favorite recipe for mixing perfect earthy olivey greens. Those are the ones that I love, and I would love some inspiration. Once I'd explored my current color palette and swatches, I feel ready to move on to something bigger, or let's say more fancy, this cradled wood panel. I've been using these more lately because I just love the firmness of the surface. It lets me layer, scribble, and really play without the fragility of paper or even the flexibility of a canvas, which I don't know, just not working for me right now. I started with a base of ochre. It's warm, grounding, and feels like a neutral that still carries some weight to it and obviously some warmth to it. I thought about using a cool green gray, but it just didn't feel right for what I was craving. Ochre is where I keep landing lately with some white. It just makes everything else glow. This way of painting with these swatch-like brushstrokes that shift gently in color but don't quite touch, it's a language my brain really understands. The rainbow method is how I bring structure into my process. It lets me stay playful but still organized. There's space between colors, both visually and emotionally. One thing I've started doing more of lately is mixing color right on the surface. It helps me stay in the flow, in the moment, less time fussing with a palette, more time just painting. The shifts in color end up feeling more organic this way. One brushstroke melts into the next with just a slight variation, and that for me is part of the magic. I also tend to use really small brushes and not fancy ones, just inexpensive ones that keep me in the process longer. They are small, so I just can't cover a lot of ground fast. That means they slow me down and I can stay with the painting. It becomes more meditative, more layered. And because the brushes are not precious, I don't treat the work that way either. It's all part of letting go and just exploring and really leaning into this form of color therapy, I would say. This isn't a planned painting, it's a dialogue. I respond to each layer, each color. I've even started experimenting with a little collage in later stages just to see what it adds in terms of depth or interest. Sometimes it works, sometimes not, but this part of the process, it's just about learning what I love and where I want to go next. I really don't know where this piece will go yet, and I'm okay with that. I think what I'm really building here is a new process, one that feels just as much mine as my watercolors do. It's messy, layered, curious, and of course, very colorful, and it feels like something worth continuing and exploring. I don't start with a plan for composition, but I do think about balance. Instead of creating a clear focal point, I work more like I'm composing a feeling. I want your eye to move, to dance across the color fields. The rainbow method helps me do that by spreading colors out across the surface and grouping them into zones. It brings rhythm to the chaos. Even when the piece is messy or unresolved, that sense of color order is what grounds it. Sometimes I don't know if it's finished, but I can feel when it's saying something honest. That's when I stop, or at least pause. While I've been deep in acrylics lately, I've also been getting curious about oils again. I found these beautiful Charvin colors at my local store, that is the one I order from online, and they've really inspired me to explore a different kind of flow, one that's slower, richer, and full of possibilities. Like, these are not their extra fine, these are their like super fine. Like, they're not the most expensive ones, but they are wonderful and they are amazing value. So I got a few. Now, most of the ones that I got, I was very, very controlled, I have to say. because this is something that I know I love, but I'm always like so precious about it because I'll show you most of the tubes that I have. Like most of the tubes that I have are these because I was trying to be responsible. And so I got like the smallest tubes and I was trying to see, you know, make sure that I love them before I invest in the bigger ones. And I do love them so much, especially the colors. The formula is great, but the colors is where they really, I feel, surpass other brands, that at least the ones that I have here available in Europe for this price. So most of the colors that I got are actually colors that I ran out of a tube or two of the small ones. So I feel confident that I will use them, but I also got a few to try. If you use Charvin oils or acrylics, because they have the same colors, tell me your favorite colors. I want to know. The people want to know. Now, I will say, kind of a disclaimer, I love having convenience colors. I've tried many times painting with oils, and I actually really don't enjoy the part of mixing colors. Of course, I will do that because, you know, you need to. I love, love, love having convenience colors and mostly being able to just work without mixing the colors. So I know this is not what you will hear from most artists, and this is definitely not the most economical choice, but it works really well for me. Golden shell, and it's just a really lovely cream warm color. Love it. This is a repurchase. Then we have Incarnate. This is like the perfect peachy color. Another repurchase. This one is Red Naples Yellow. I'm not sure I have this one. Really love tone on tone. And so you will see that a lot of the shades here are like similar colors, but in different values. Some greens. This is Saint Remy Green. This is a repurchase. Cinnabar Light, Green Light. You can see this one is more, it's hard to see on screen, and they look a little bit brighter through my camera. They're just a little bit more earthy than they appear. And both of these are repurchases. This one is new to me. It's olive green and it's really beautiful. Imagine what you see on the screen, just not as bright. Just like tone it down a bit, make it earthier, and then you'll get the real colors. And this one is new also to me. This is Anise. And I just thought it would be like a nice complement. It's, as you can see, it's like really yellow, but right, I feel on that line, like a green gold. We have two colors. I'm really excited about these. This is Chartreuse Green Deep. And as you can see, it's like mint color, I would say, and Tropical Green, which is like the perfect aqua color. So a little bit bluer. I'm thinking I need some like deep color here. Probably a turquoise would work, and I have a few turquoises that I like. The next 5 that I will show you, they're like my favorites. So Linen Gray, this is another repurchase. It's a very kind of muted purple. It's just lovely for backgrounds. Then we have Amethyst Parma, which is, you can see like lilac color or more of a lavender. And then slightly bluer, we have Bluish Parma, but these look so good together. And then I have another one which is called Provence Blue, and it finishes like this trio. This is the Provence blue, and then this one is Royal Blue, but this one is like my favorite. It's just a touch more purpley, and it's just a little bit darker than this one. So I love playing with these colors together. This is probably like one of my favorite colors. Julia Pink, and then Intense Pink. I mean, just look at these. Makes me so happy. These are the colors that I chose to get. And again, this is against the whole concept of a limited palette. I just love having all of these amazing colors ready to go. So that's where I'm at right now, playing with acrylics, getting curious again about oils, and letting color lead me back into the studio. I'm not chasing perfect paintings. I'm just trying to find a rhythm that feels like mine. If you're exploring your own process or finding your way back to art after a break, I hope this gave you a little spark. And if you're curious about how I use color and how I organized color and stay focused in the middle of all this exploration, I talk more about that in the Rainbow Method. I will leave a link below if you want to check that out, or you can just go to therainbowmethod.com. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I think you will really enjoy these videos as well, and I invite you to subscribe so that you know whenever I post a new video. Have a great day!